Hey, Liz.
Hello.
Well, welcome to today's episode of Behind the Science podcast. We are so happy to spend some time with you and grateful that you're here. AI is big. And what I like about our guest, Matt Marcotte, by the way, he is, he started like us, right? Like he started a print shop. He started screen printing and, doing some signage, but mostly screen printing and merch. And started when he was right out of college or high school, I think is what he said. Yeah. And, and then slowly but surely learned over his career that this tool will help do this and this tool will help do this. And then all of a sudden AI comes down the pike. And
yeah, I think if nothing else, he's a really good example of just continuing to learn and never being like
stuck. Yeah. And adoption's not a straight line, right? It's sometimes it moves to the side and sometimes it leaps really far forward and sometimes you make mistakes and it knocks you back a little bit. But anyway, it's a super cool conversation. I'm excited to jump in and talk about AI. It's a hot topic in the Behind the Science community. It's a hot topic in the sign industry, screen printing and it's just a hot topic.
And before anyone clicks away, I want to say that the majority of our conversation is not about design.
It's not.
And it's really about how to integrate AI in not design things. So don't run away. Just give it a chance.
Listen to the end. And hey, if you're just watching this, you're not subscribed to our channel, please hit subscribe. It's super helpful to us. And before we jump in, Liz, we're going to just take a quick little break to thank our sponsors, and then we'll jump right in with Matt and we'll get going.
Yeah, now we'll just cut in a word from our sponsors.
This fine family of products that are so gracious to Behind the Signs, and that is Sign Tracker. Everything you need for managing a sign shop, project management, workflow, easy quoting, customer contracts, sync with QuickBooks. And if you are a traditional sign shop or print sign shop, it is the program for you. If you are in the UK, go to claritygo.com. It's sign project management for you fine friends in the UK. Also, if you are more of a traditional print or screen printing shop, check out printavo.com. And lastly, thanks to Order My Gear. Order My Gear, if you want to set up online stores for merch for yourself or your customers, they are the folks to go to, ordermygear.com.
And we want to thank a really special sponsor, Resupply Company.
We love those guys.
We really do. So, running a shop nowadays is really hard.
It is.
It's getting harder. And ordering materials for some reason is becoming really challenging, and getting, materials, equipment, and the support for those materials and equipment has become just a big challenge. So that's why we've relied on Resupply. I mean, you relied on Resupply forever.
They were a partner at our shop. And
right.
The more we grew, we used them as a resource, not just for getting materials, but also just for getting information, learning about new products. They were always in our shop every week. So if you're looking for a great partner in your business.
Yeah. I mean, they've been around now for 90 years supporting shops, and they've always put customers first.
I remember the beginning days.
Yeah. I mean, well,
I'm not
you would. They do materials, equipment, but also they just have real industry expertise.
They do.
Literally every call and every shipment, every single thing you do, every interaction is handled with that same commitment to excellence, regardless of your size.
Exactly.
Because supporting sign and digital print and screen printing shops, it's not just a part of what they do. It is all they've done. They've never ventured out of that.
Yeah, and thank you, Resupply, for your sponsorship of Behind the Signs. We appreciate you.
So mostly. Yeah. The big thing is if you want someone that picks up the phone, right?
Yeah.
Because nowadays,
that's hard to get.
Yeah. But if you want a person who actually picks up the phone and knows this industry, but also genuinely cares about your company's success, check out resupply.com.
Yes.
And that's why lots of people, including us and you, continue to trust them.
Exactly. Also want to thank our good friends at ISA, International Sign Association.
Membership
matters. And that's an important message that Liz and I have really committed ourselves to this year. So go to signs.org. And
you almost did it.
I almost did it. Yeah. Go to signs.org and check out not only becoming a member of ISA, but becoming a member of your local sign association. Mm-hmm. So whether it's Texas Sign Association, Mid-South Sign Association, Tri-State,
California.
Don't list them all. There's a lot. There's a ton. Yeah. But I will say, if you become a member of your local sign association, you're automatically a member of ISA. So we're huge proponents of that. And that's all I could say about that. Join your local sign association. Get involved.
Absolutely. And also, don't forget to check out our article every month in Sign Builder Illustrated, thanks to our friends at Sign Builders.
Yes.
Or Sign Builder Illustrated. Sign Builders is like such a vernacular for me.
What's good? Say it. Yeah, that's because I started my career at Sign Builders of America.
Oh my gosh. Check it out online at signshop.com. It's as if I've never had an issue with it. I know. I'm so good.
I was wondering if you'd forget the URL.
But mostly, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
We wouldn't do this if you weren't watching.
That's true.
It's very true.
Yes, and we...
Be sure to subscribe.
Especially to the podcast YouTube channel. That's super helpful to us. So thanks a bunch.
And we'll have links to all these sponsors in the show notes. So be sure to check them out.
Yep. All right. Let's get started on the podcast for today.
Thank you.
Matt, first of all, thank you so much for joining Liz and I today Behind the Signs podcast. We are honored to have you, my good man. I've always enjoyed hanging out with you at trade shows. Hopefully we'll get to do some more of that here in the future, especially once things continue to roll out on the sign side of our company. But Matt, why don't you take a few minutes and just tell us about yourself, your history, and what you do now for work, and all the stuff. I mean, you can start from birth to present. We have all the time in the world.
Perfect. All right. Hello, Matt Marcotte. It all starts on a cold, wintry day of Christmas, 1986. I am born on Christmas. Anyway, we'll fast forward a couple.
You're in good company being born on Christmas, by the way.
Yeah. I've heard, and they don't ever steal my thunder on my birthday. But anyways, we'll go into like my high school age. I was lower middle class growing up, and really got into apparel, and I couldn't afford the band t-shirts. I was into metal like everyone was back then, right? And couldn't afford the band t-shirts. So I started making my own by taping it out, bleaching it. And then I made my first screen printing press and started screen printing in my house. Then bought like an early Ryonet screen printing thing and turned my room into a dark room. And my parents were like, what is wrong with our kid? And who knows? I still don't even know what's wrong with me, right? But got into screen printing. And then throughout high school was playing in bands, making my own merch. College was doing the same thing. I actually in college ended up with a bachelor's of science in instructional design and a double minor in screen printing and graphic design. So fine art serigraphy, fine art screen printing, more flat stock artwork recreation, more like think like gig posters, things like that. Toured with some friends' bands, doing merch, selling merch, creating merch, and like was traveling the country and like having to figure out getting merch made quickly. Life became real after that. I was like, okay, I need a job. So ended up getting a job working in sales at a larger contract decorator, a bigger screen printing shop. Worked there, and after a couple months was able to like kind of move my way up, and accidentally one day solved a big problem they were having. They had misprinted for a big client some water base, 10,000 pieces of water base, and they had like most of them were misprinted because the ink was drying up in the screen. And I went to Walgreens and got some glycerin, put a couple drops in, and it worked. And they fired the production manager and was like, you have this job now. I was not qualified. I was like 23. That guy had been there for like a decade and definitely had earned the right to be there. And immediately all the employees decided to mostly stop speaking English, right? And kind of treat me like I made a bubble happen. Treat me like I was the bad guy, like I chose that. And it was hard. I was young and I had 140 employees underneath me then that I had to make sure it was a big production facility, right? And I had to earn their respect. And the only way to do that, in my opinion, is to get in the trenches. I had not earned the seat. I solved a problem and was given and forced into a seat. And so I felt I had to earn their respect. And I spent the next 4 years building that respect, showing up before them, leaving after them, putting in the extra work, learning everything I could. And they adopted me, and within the first like year, it all changed. And I was being taught by people who'd been screen printing for decades, learning all this different stuff. And I was lucky enough, the shop was in the suburbs of Chicago, where M&R, one of the major manufacturers of equipment for the screen printing, we were one of the largest shops in the area, in the city area. And so we were kind of a demo shop for a lot of M&R's new equipment. So they have brand new, we're testing this out, go put it in that shop. And I would be the one testing it out, playing with it first, helping it work, helping it not work, all that stuff. And after 5 years becoming operations manager, production manager, and running all that stuff, M&R, the former owner, was kind of like, why are you here? Like, you do better. And I was like, what do you mean, dude? And he's like, you're underpaid, you're overworked, you know this, you should be out selling. And I was like, I don't want to sell, I'm not a salesperson. So we called this guy Sid, who'd started a supply company here in the Midwest. And Sid hit me up, was like, Rich said I have to hire you. Rich Hoffman, the former owner of M&R. And I was like, yeah. What am I doing? And it was, we're going to give you a company car and a company credit card, and you're going to go into Indiana 4 to 5 days a week, stay at a different hotel every night, and you're going to go get business. And I was like, what?
How old were you? How old were you at this point?
26, 27. And I went into all these shops, and during that time, I also had like Wearables magazine, some of those types of things. I had won a couple awards for screen printing awards, different things we had done. So I'd kind of developed a bit of a background in my time there too. Also a big contract shop doing big stuff, printed for the Blackhawks when they won, like lots of fun stuff. And so I spent the next 5 years there working up to being a sales manager and working with thousands of print shops across the Midwest. I physically have had feet in over 1,000 print shops in the Midwest, right? And that's the coolest part, right? That chapter was a super single chapter in my life because you're just traveling so much, right? But I learned from so many amazing people who are doing the thing every day, right? And those are the experts, the ones that actually have to solve for everything. And I got lucky to be able to be invited behind the scenes to all these different print shops to be able to see what they're doing, how they're doing it, and have them teach me. And if I was lucky enough, I could teach them something too. And of course, the better they did, the more they bought from me and the better I did, right? So it helped, me helping them helped them help me. It was a good symbiotic relationship I was able to grow with over those years. That's also where I discovered Printavo. Because traveling across mostly, I started in Indiana, ended up in Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, part of Kentucky, all of Illinois, right? I found a shop that had Printavo, and they were like the 20th user of Printavo. And I had already used a different competitor that's very expensive and hasn't really changed much in that time, and hated it, still don't like it. And I was like, this is what people need. How much is it? And it was, at the time, it could barely do what it does now. So it was a fraction of the cost, it was a fraction of the product, right? But I was still like, shops need this. And so I reached out and met Bruce, right? And there was like 5 people working there, right? And I became the first outside sales rep selling Printavo, because I was out in the field like, they need Printavo, here, connect. They need Printavo, here, connect. Steven, who also helps co-host the Printavo Print Hustlers podcast, I met him when he was not even an owner quite in the shop. He's an owner in two, helped design that shop. By being out in the world, you get to meet more people. You get to learn more things, right? So everybody get out there and network. It does a lot, right? I honestly think that any success I've had in my life has come from being willing just to show up 2 places, 2 businesses, 2 shops, to try to meet somebody, even if you're like, I came off like a total schmuck, which is always how I come off. Right. But you just got to deal with it anyways. This is like so far accurate.
No, just I actually was more like same.
I ended up going back into large scale production management after that for a bit. And then COVID hit. And I was working at a company that we were doing like big band touring merchandise. I mean, we were doing, you think Billboard Top 50, we were doing a lot of those touring merchandise, large scale, hosting Shopify stores, fulfillment, big stuff. COVID hit, and it just, of course, it tanked. Right. And so Printavo, Bruce had already kind of been like, you should work here. And I've been like, yeah, no, I'm okay. And then I called Bruce and was like, yeah, let's do that. And so we made an offer, and I jumped over as the senior success manager, helping with implementation. So people that were adopting Printavo, they could pay a bit more to have me fly out and help like get them up and running in like a boot camp style type thing, or remotely over. I'd become very confident in let's think on my feet in terms of physical operational solutions. Then I had my first day at Printavo during COVID. I'm sitting in my basement in my home on Zoom, which I had never used before, being told what Slack is, which I had no idea what the hell that was, and then having to be taught software that I had used Printavo. And during that time, I also started a small print shop that I still am a co-owner in today. And I thought I knew Printavo decently well, but turned out, I didn't actually. And for the first time in my career in quite some time, I felt like I didn't belong in that seat. And that was a problem for me. So I had to quickly earn the right? And so I dove in as hard as I could. Our CTO, Peter, you can ask him. I bugged the shit out of him I still do, for years, trying to learn anything and everything that I could because I hated being the weakest link. I didn't earn the right. And I was in a seat again that I was like, they should have given somebody else, right? And so I then dove deep into understanding software the best that I could, understanding what APIs are and how they work the best that I could. Fast forward a couple of years, I'm talking to Bruce, and there's a solution that at the time Printavo didn't have, which was a receiving solution. And I was like, Bruce, I think I want to try to build a receiving solution because my print shop needs it, other print shops need it, and I'm tired of waiting, right? And he was like, you got my blessing. You're helping our customers. Go for it. And I started a side company with two buddies. One's a developer. And 3 weeks later, we had a product. And then people started to buy into the product, and they were like, oh my God, you helped us. And then I got a whole new feeling of like, it's one thing, it's awesome working at a software that I can see how it's helping Printavo, and then actually seeing a different solution that maybe I'm experiencing, everybody else is, and building something, even though I didn't really have the know-how technically to do it, still opened up another box of curiosities of like, okay, I have no right being in a software company building software because again, I don't know enough, right? And so I keep trying to expand that door of what I don't know to learn more. And now it's funny because I think about where we are in the current moment with AI and years of work, years of knowledge. And one of my best friends, who's a business partner of mine in one of the companies I'm a co-owner in, he's a full stack developer and he's amazing. And I drive him up the wall because he'll be like, oh, it doesn't work that way. And then 2 days later, I'm like, here's the finished product with exactly how I said. You said it couldn't work. And he's like, how did you do that? And I'm like, I have no idea. And he's like, oh my God, right? Because AI is a new unlock. So it's crazy how I really do feel like I've been lucky with my career progression to end up at Printavo, now the parent company Tavo, right? To be able to land here, be able to work with thousands of more dealers, decorators, distributors, apparel, sign shops, everybody, and take all the production elements that I know, all the software solutions element I know, and now all that work I spent in understanding APIs, understanding how to become lean in your processes, and now adopting AI, all that hard work that a lot of us had to do, you don't have to do anymore, right? And is that good or bad? That's however you want to write that story. I would argue it's good and or it's bad. How do you want to perceive it? To me, I'm excited because I really think that right now is the best time to ever have an idea. Right now is the best time to try to create something. Right now is the best time to look at a computer and go, there's no more guardrails. I can do whatever I want. Let's go. Right. And that's an exciting time.
And I think it's, coming to, at least from where you are and for me too, when I was, Sign Tracker is kind of a similar story and having development partners and what am I doing here in the software world? I'm a grunt sign guy, right? That, that has an electric sign shop, but, I think it's learning to listen to other shops' pain points and then taking the time to really understand what can solve that, And I think we were telling you when we were getting started. So, Liz and I write this article every month for Sign Builder Illustrated magazine. And so we wrote this article. Again, I'm not even sure I'm qualified or we were qualified to write it, but, me, myself, and AI. And yeah, definitely are not. But we're really fortunate because the Behind the Signs community on Facebook is really growing like crazy. I think we're racing towards 20,000 folks, and it's really turned into more of a forum. So almost like a sign shop 101 sort of a place. And so people will ask a question, and then next thing you know, 50 people are jumping in and helping to answer it. So when we write the article every month, we also repost it in the community. So we posted this Me, Myself, and AI article. And man, it was a roller coaster, that thread, and I there was a lot of positive things. People are, like you said, people are seeing like, hey, I have this pain point in my shop. Now I have the freedom to use these AI tools to help solve it. But there wasn't as many of those people as there were the people that are, pushing back. And especially around the idea of design. I think more than anything, that's the first thing that with sign shops, their minds go to, and they think negatively, like, oh, like customers, sending me these really crappy designs. But what do you think? I mean, beyond the design stuff, and what do you think sign shops and print shops, aren't really understanding yet about what's coming with AI? Just from where you sit, and you're involved in it way more on a daily basis than Liz and I are. Yeah, what don't they understand about what's coming? If they're only focused on design, you know what I mean, and they're pushing back, what aren't they getting?
So that would be like saying that a computer's only good for Photoshop or Illustrator, right? No, it can do a whole lot more. So if you're going to only allocate a computer to being where you do design stuff, then that's all it can do, right? A computer can do a whole lot more, and so can AI. The one thing I will lead with, and I'm going to make sure I also end with, is that somebody with AI is going to surpass you if you choose not to use it, right? AI is not going away. AI is not going to take your job. Somebody using AI is going to take your job unless you don't let it be taken, right? So either you have to figure out how to be a multiplier of yourself magically, or you got to start thinking about how you can adopt AI, because you can't put this genie back in the bottle. You can't, right? And if you look in history, there's always advancements that always have somebody having this like, oh my God, doomsday. And nope, that's not the case, right? We can say we're worried about water consumption from AI. Yeah, but growing avocados also takes a lot of water, right? We have to solve for problems every day. It's part of life. AI is going to take jobs. Yeah, it's also going to make a bunch of jobs that we don't even think about yet, right? So we have to look historically at how things actually work. There's always doom and gloom if you want there to be. There's always opportunity if you want there to be, right? And so if you're going to try to be too negative or pessimistic about AI, you do you, but you will probably get passed at some point by somebody who's not dooming and glooming AI, right?
As you kind of alluded to, AI is moving really fast, right? Like the whole concept of AI is just, even today, is so different than it was 2 months ago. And its capabilities are so different than they were 2 months ago. Let's please not get into like the sentient AI stuff again, Dad. It's too much for me. That's where I draw the line. But I've seen too many movies about that shit. I'm not here for it.
It's pretty cool though. I mean,
the movies never end.
AI. There's really smart trained models. There's no sentient AI yet. They don't have AGI yet. Yeah.
Somehow we always go down that rabbit hole, and it freaks me out.
I shouldn't read all the crazy articles.
You really shouldn't. Yeah. But I think that it's fair to say, at least like I am a current sign shop owner, at least on the design side of sign shops. And it's fair to say that it's really overwhelming. Like AI in general is overwhelming. And like I am pretty tech savvy, and I'm lucky that I work with a lot of young people who are also very tech savvy, but that's not the standard in the sign industry. It's not really a younger generation industry. It's actually a big problem in the industry. But so a lot of people aren't as tech savvy, right? And they aren't as understanding of where to adopt or like how to start. So where like for a sign shop owner, where do we start?
Absolutely. So there's a couple of things, right? Yes, it's a staircase that we're all on, right? You got to start taking a step. Don't try to be at the top of the stairs. The staircase is ever expanding. There is no top, right? So just be on the staircase, and one step at a time. And by me saying, hey, someone with AI is going to take your job, not tomorrow, right? No, I don't think, at least, right? So it's just a matter of forward progression and trying. And so I think the easiest place to start, and where I would still say everyone should start, right, is either with ChatGPT or Claude, and getting into, at the very least, the $20 a month plan. With that, it's a chatbot. Yep, you're just talking to a chatbot. But I want you to think a bit more about that. When you're paying for the $20 a month plan, you can do what we call projects, which is like, okay, I've got a chatbot that I talk specifically about the sign shop. I got a chatbot where I talk specifically about art within the sign shop or a certain part of the sign shop. I've got a chat. You have these different kind of like folders that has context around those conversations. So you don't have to go every time and be like, hey, this is what I want you to do. It knows what its purpose is in that chat. So you can kind of talk to it. So an easy example, and this is one I would recommend everyone do, right, is when you get that email from a customer, right? And you're like, how do I respond to this? A lot of us will we'll write it out, then spend 10 minutes kind of proofing it to make sure it's got the right, I'm not too angry, I'm not too this, I'm not too that, and then finally send it. Yeah, don't do that anymore. Just go into ChatGPT, paste their email, and then you can hit the microphone button so you don't have to even type, and just say how you feel as a response, and then tell it to give a professional response to that, and it'll just go, and it's kind of like your anger interpreter, right? It'll like soften all the edges, say what it needs to say, right? And then you can copy and paste that and click send, right? You can then
Wait, is that a tool I could have used my whole life?
totally.
It's not too late, Liz. It's not too late.
It's not too late. And you can get deeper into the weeds. Like if that's something you like, there's things like fixer.ai that you can actually append into your inbox. It'll read your emails and how you respond. It'll draft replies that you can like edit and click send on. Things like that are going to start to free up some serious time. So I would definitely start off with just getting into the paid $20 a month version of ChatGPT or Claude. Now, that is really entry level. That is the first stair, right? I'd say start at the first stair. If you're staying there past 3 months, you need to try to move up another stair, right? And I'm not making money off of you guys buying subscription to these things. I wish I was. I don't work at those companies, right? I would then highly suggest that if you're a business owner, you have the business pay for one of the more premium levels of ChatGPT or Claude. The reason being is because then you get into their work functionality. ChatGPT Work, or Claude calls it co-work, right? That is a whole different level then, right? You can download the desktop application. So you're not just going to chatgpt.com. You're actually on a desktop application. That AI can now actually do anything on your computer that you give it access to be able to do. You give it access to be able to do. I also want to call something out that I hear that is the most asinine thing. Well, I don't trust giving my data to a corporate company.
Okay.
They have it.
Yeah,
They already have it. Do you use Google? Is your email in Google? They already have it.
Do you bank online?
Exactly. They already have it. So really you're saying they already have everything. I want none of the benefits. That's what that argument is to me, right?
I do try to think about the people in the sign industry that could probably get away with not using AI. And the only folks I can really think of, and even then, I don't know, are the folks that do the old school gold leaf lettering and hand lettering, and maybe some neon vendors.
I mean,
they're more like artists.
They still could. There's non-online models. If you have a big enough computer, you can download a model and not be on the internet, and it's your controlled AI that is not talking to anything else. So even that's possible, but that's a little bit more down the rabbit hole.
Well, so a question I have then is just, and this is for me to understand too. So what's the difference between chatbot and an agent, or is that the same thing?
An agent is going to usually do something. So that's where I would suggest getting into the $100 a month plans at ChatGPT or at Claude, because then you have agents, you have the work features. So you can actually start to give it instructions and it can go do work on your behalf, essentially. Here's an example. This is a real example too. My print shop, soundandfuryprint.com, right? I used AI to design the whole website, right? And not only that, every week I have it doing a Google search to find things that I should be populating in, and I'm not populating high enough in SEO. It sees why I'm not ranking as high as everybody else in that SEO, and then it writes me a blog article in my voice based off of all the other things I've written that I gave it access to, and then it pings me to review it and make sure it's good, and then it posts it to my blog and immediately helps my SEO score. Right. So I have an agent that's basically helping make sure my print shop's website is ranking high on search engine optimization, which has a one-to-one connection on the increase in business I've had in the last month because of that feature, right? That tool being built. So an agent in that case would be, it's my blog agent. It is specialized. I taught that one project. This is my voice. Here's a bunch of stuff to read to understand my voice. This is what I want you to do. This is when I want you to do it. Every Tuesday at 10 a.m., you're going to run this task as long as my computer's open. Because if you're using one of these things, ChatGPT or Claude, you have to be on a machine that's on and it's open for it to run which is why you might have heard people going and buying Mac Minis at a crazy frenzy, because then they could have a computer always on at all times to do that work for them, right? So agents are going to be able to do specified work that you give it context to what it can do, and you'll have to also allow what permissions it has access to do. It's not like a human that's over there like, I've got access to everything, let's mess all of it up, right? It's like, I have to go here. Can I give access to this? Cool, give me access to this, right? And then you can approve what it can do.
So on the marketing side, I can see that's hugely valuable. So if you have ChatGPT help you write a website, help you code a website, does it like build it in HTML, or what? How does that work?
Whatever you want it to be in, right? That's again where like with, and I use both ChatGPT and I use Claude. My daily driver is Hermes and Claude, but Claude right now I use the code feature, and so I can tell it I want you to build it in Python. I can tell it I want it to build in Rails. I can tell it whatever I want it to be built in, and it'll be like, let me go understand that. Cool, I understand how Rails works. Let's build a website in Rails, right? You'll have to understand a bit more from there, like where are you hosting it? Like that's where, but again, I don't know all these things. So over the last 3-4 years of me working with like initially just the chatbot, I would ask a chatbot, hey, how do I do this? And he'd be like, based off what I found on the internet, here's this, give it a shot. And I'd go and like, hey, screenshot, I'm stuck. Oh, here's what you should do. Oh, that worked. Okay, I'm stuck again. Screenshot, I'm stuck. And it's just a loop. It's, okay, what should I do? Let me go try it. It failed. Here's what I got. What should I do? Okay, let me try it. Okay, it worked. Okay, what should I do? Just back and forth. Don't overthink it. Just be patient and try. It's all a matter of patience. But yeah, agents are going to be where you truly start to see an unlock. I don't want you to get scared about like what an agent actually is. It's just being able to have certain things work on your behalf. You don't have to have it scheduled. You can say, hey, I want you to go build me the next 4 blog posts, and I'll come take a look at them when I'm done. And it'll just go do some research. It'll build the blog post, and then you can review them when you're ready to go.
I just want it to do enough stuff so I can go ride my bike more.
It's a slippery slope because you will get addicted to what you can also get done. But yes, you can also ride your bike more. You can also, one thing I would recommend too is if you are on at least a $20 a month plan of either of those, if you're going for a walk, right, just put it on voice mode and start having a conversation with it. I know it sounds wild, but you can actually have dialogue and a conversation about what big dreams you're trying to achieve in your business, in your life, whatever. And you've got all the book's knowledge responding to you in what seems like a person almost, right? Don't let it take like your personal life decisions in a bad direction by any means, right? But you can have really deep conversations with an AI. You're like, that actually makes total sense. That was a good walk.
Yeah. I mean, even if you're starting off and you're thinking, oh man, I'm just so paranoid. I don't want this to know my accounting, or I don't want this to know my customer base per se, because you know what I mean? People get paranoid, right? But just from the marketing side,
that's one thing that comes up in our group a lot is like, how are you guys getting new business and how are you doing this? So I know you guys kind of went off on a tangent of language that people that have built software would understand. Rails, that did not go unheard. But a lot of people they don't know what you're talking about. So one thing I do want them to know is SEO, because I think some people know what SEO is, and then some people have just heard it and don't understand what it is. So search engine optimization, a lot of people say, oh, I use Google Ads for to continue to get new business. And it's like, you don't necessarily have to, though. Like if you had AI running an SEO optimization tool for your website, right, that tells you, oh, if you added this or did a blog post that has these words in it, that makes your company more likely to pop up in a search when someone searches for this thing, both, via Google and probably via ChatGPT and other AI search tools, search engine optimization. There's what's the other acronym when they're using, what's the SEO for AI?
GEO is the newer one, agentic engine optimization. GEO, for a while it was AIEO.
Yeah, I actually really preferred it to be AIEO just because I really wanted
like old McDonald's going and
I really wanted tech bros going
Yeah,
around. Yeah.
That's a good point, though, Matt. I mean, let's just say, just from marketing, how have you found
search engine optimization is usually where everyone needs to fix their process, right? That's going to be your best place. Someone's like, where do I get a sign? Usually popping up, especially if you're in that area, right? And you want to make sure you got dominance in an area, right? So where you are on the map, you better be dominant in that area. How do you become dominant? Social proof. That's how you become dominant. Social proof is who's talking about you, where, how, what keywords. So the internet is not as smart as y'all think, right? It's just a bunch of little scrapers scraping data and saying, oh, this is the most popular. Oh, that we're seeing more keywords here. Oh, we're seeing. So based off of little key points, they're just ranking based off of how many there are, right? So people oftentimes think about SEO and they think about blogs incorrectly, right? To me, and people have asked, like, don't you care that the blog doesn't necessarily sound totally like you? I don't care if no one reads the blog. That's not the purpose of the blog, right? And that's also a lot of people also like, what? The purpose of the blog is for the scrapers to read the blog. I do not care if a human reads it or not, right? Added bonus if they do, added bonus if it helps them, right? What I care about is how much social proof am I putting out for the scrapers to scrape and see that I'm there, right? So when you take blogs and look at it more as I'm just putting keywords and phrases into the internet ether so they see me faster, quicker, that's what a blog should really be doing, right? And if you can then tie that with it's actually beneficial and you can wrap marketing around it. Hey, I made a new blog post. Let's put an Instagram post to support that blog post. You can then create collateral around that again will have more social proof. But social proof is what you're looking for. And that doesn't mean only from a human interacting with that post. It just means that you're getting more social proof from that post you've made, right? So that's the biggest thing is even if you go to a chatbot and just be like, I want to make a blog post about this, even in the chatbot, that's great. Tell it you want it to be SEO optimized for whatever it's going to be, but you can go one level deeper. If you're on the Claude co-work or the ChatGPT work, you can say, here's my website, give me an SEO GEO ranking. And it'll literally just scrape your website and tell you straight up like F, D, right? And it'll tell you. And then say, cool, how do I make it better? And they're like, here's some ideas. And then the cool thing is start easy and slow. Just go manually have it make a blog post and then go post that blog post, right? And don't care if no one goes to it. Don't be like, no one read it. Post another one the next week and another one the next week. It's a numbers game. You got to keep putting it out there, right? And then having it scrape your website too. It'll tell you like, hey, footers. You need to have little things you can add in that'll also. So just ask it, how do I get better SEO? It'll teach you.
And I think that if you're willing to spend the money on something like Google Ads, which is a fluctuating cost, you can set a budget, but you don't really know 100% what you're going to get for that budget. Whereas if you're setting, like, if you have this fixed cost or fixed overhead of your monthly fee to a chat agent, then, or an AI agent, then you're able to say, I need to use it for this so I can optimize my SEO, but then also I'm going to use it for these other things when I'm ready.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do. It's just a matter of starting, right? And also one thing to keep in mind too, one of the biggest things you can do for SEO, update pictures every month. Every month, go to your actual Google page that you control and update the photos every month. It being new photos, again, is what? Social proof, right? And so that social proof is what's actually ranking you higher. Also, make sure you're asking for a Google review with every customer, right? You can actually take your customer list from that month and go into your chat and say, here's all the emails. I'm going to connect to my email. Can you write an email to everybody? And in that spreadsheet, maybe it mentions the name of their order, mentions all that stuff. Can you go ahead and just email everybody asking for a Google review and drop the link? And it'll do it. And now you're going to collect Google reviews. Every Google review that comes in, make sure you comment back on it. Thank you so much. We appreciate your business. What is that adding? Social proof. The more you're interacting, and those are things you don't have to pay for, right? So if you're paying for a Google ad and you're not doing blog posts and you're not asking for every single person to give you a review and responding to those and adding photos, I would say you're wasting your money.
See, I'm so torn. Like, I get really excited about stuff like that.
I do, yeah. All of it sounds
like,
cool, really.
I just want to chat about the elephant in the room, like on my side of the industry, which, as everyone knows, is design, right? I'm a design studio in the sign industry. AI gets a really bad rap, and that's because a lot of times, AI within the creative community is theft of ideas. Like, AI is using its scrubbers to develop these concepts that really are stealing other people's things they've put online as their proof of life, really, right? Like their proof of interaction. It's so I think that where it gets a bad rap is that it devalues the education, the expertise, and design thinking, right? That goes into true design work. I know there are a lot of designers in our group that this is where it gets heated in conversation, because there are companies that just use AI to, pump out what they're delivering to clients. And then there are companies that don't and have designers on staff. But on the other side of it, on the business side of things, I get so excited about AI because I think it can be so incredibly helpful for people as a tool. So it's like, it's hard to live in this area, but I want to help people see that they can both respect design and integrate AI into other aspects of the business. I think that this constant fear of being replaced, right? And we've talked about it. And I think that a lot of times comes in from the designers because that's the most obvious thing that's being like thrown at people right now. In our world, right? That's kind of where it and I know we've talked a lot about what AI can take on outside of design and outside of creative work, but I also want to talk about, maybe you can just shed some light on the difference between AI replacing a task and AI replacing a person.
Yes. I will also say something that might ruffle some feathers.
As we do.
Coal miners were angry when they were going to lose their job to natural gas. Sometimes it doesn't matter how you feel. That's the way life works. We don't have coal miners anymore. We're on natural gas, right? So there's evolution, whether we like it or not, there's evolution. So if a coal miner's like, well, I'm holding out for coal, well, they're going to die hungry, unfortunately, because that's not an option anymore, right? So I will say that you can definitely have an emotional feeling about anything, always. You're right. But it's not going to change what's happening around you, right? Not saying you can't inspire change and you shouldn't try. That's not the argument, right? It's just that things are going to change, right? I think that in terms of feeling replaced or like their work is not valued because of AI, absolutely. But artists, you think you're the only one? I'm sorry, you're not, right? Think about my developer buddy I mentioned a little bit ago. He had to get a master's degree for some schmuck like me to be able to do things that he's like, how did you do that? Right? There are so many jobs out there in the world that are going to have this kind of implication where you feel stolen, you feel like you've put all that work for naught, right? I got student loan debt I'm still paying off, and I'm also wondering why the hell did I get that student loan debt, right? That's just part of life. So to think that one is different, it's all part of it. I will say artistic integrity has always been an argument, right? What is the very famous quote? Good artists create, great artists steal. So, and that's Andy Warhol, for those of you who don't know, right? And I would say he's one of the biggest thieves in art and history, but he's also one of the early screen printers that helped create an entire genre, right? From stolen concepts. So there's always been this like weird blurry line in property. It's different now because of me as an artist seeing it and then copying or mimicking your style, but I'm still doing it. Now we're letting an AI kind of fluctuate its version of it. I think that's going to fix itself, to be honest. I think that some consumers are fine with AI slop and they're going to pay for it, and let them. I think other consumers, and I think as it progresses more, we're already seeing this to be a fact, right? As more AI slop hits the marketplace and hits the world, people will start to pay more for the real thing. So I do think it's going to lean out. If you're not a real artist, then you're going to be out of a job. But I would also argue, are you using Procreate? Because if you're going to die on the hill of, I'm not going to technology stealing art, well, then get your paintbrush out and stop using fucking Procreate, right? There's different tools you can choose to use. You can't pick and choose the hill you die on every time you want to move it, right? So being more open to, let me have my artistic integrity and expression how I want to. And if that's not how another person feels, that's okay. They can have that however they want to, right? And then if I'm truly good at my craft and I care about my craft, I should be able to still find an outlet and people to consume that. But I do think, kind of like what's happened with music, it's harder to be a big name band nowadays because the saturation level. It's harder to be a good designer because the saturation level. So saturation levels is also a big part of what people are feeling. And I think AI is an excuse they can point at versus more accepting that the times are changing in general, which is a whole bigger deep talk that I won't say is right or wrong either, right? That's my honest opinion on the whole art thing.
And I think too with designers, just real fast, Liz, don't mean to interrupt you, but especially in the sign world, it's about experience and relationships. So yes, you can have some AI tools that might help design go a little quicker. At the Sign Expo, ISA Sign Expo this year, there was some pretty cool tools that would help save time on research and code research and all that stuff, which a lot of designers have to deal with in the sign world. But there's also, AI can't replace going out to a job site, meeting the owner in the store, shaking their hand, talking about what they want their customers to experience, interpreting that, designing around that. Even if you go back to the shop and use some AI tools to help you bring that to life, that part of design, that experiential part of design, I mean, maybe if Tesla comes up with some really cool humanoid robots and,
It won't be the same, though. It won't be the same. I agree. The human interaction, that is what we need to lean into, and what makes us human and how we express that, and honesty and candor. Those are things. I mean, AI's tell you yes. That's my other thing I'll tell you guys. When you start using AI deeply and it's like, great idea, don't believe it. Right? Have it be like, tell me why it's a bad idea. And then it'll be like, oh, here's 30 reasons. Like, so it wasn't a good idea. You're like, you're right. It wasn't. Right? It's made to tell you you're a genius when you're not. Right? So it's not going to be an A+ employee by any means. But it will absolutely help you with all those things, supporting you. And we're in a time where you got to get more done faster. This is how. So figure out what steps you can automate, what steps you can start to allow you to do what you're good at, which if that's going and meeting the owner and shaking their hand and like selling the vision, go do more of that. And the other stuff that prevents you from doing more of that, see if you can automate some of that. It doesn't change what you're doing. It might change how much you're working in the business versus working on the business, right? But that's not a bad thing.
No. Well, it's funny because you start thinking about, it's so easy. It's so easy to look at, I'm going to buy a router and it's going to cut the hand routing time in half. Therefore, in 6 months of doing channel letter jobs, it pays for itself, or printer or any piece of equipment. What's the mindset around? I think this is the part, right? Like, oh, I'm going to spend $100 a month. People always don't want to subscribe to more things, but how would you encourage, sign shop and print shop owners to think about the ROI on, you've kind of already touched a lot around this anyway, but the ROI on, investing in AI tools?
Totally. I think it's going to be, you're going to go a little bit where it's just an expense, so you're not actually getting ROI because you've got to get your feet wet, right? Once you get to a spot where you can start to see how it's actually working, it's pretty easy to get that ROI back, but you do have to invest some time, right? I've probably spent 10 grand in AI in the last 3 years before I made any ROI. I've made all that money back and then some from AI, right? So it might be a bit of a time. It might be 3 months to start to see ROI, 6 months to start to see ROI. But it also depends on how much you use it and how much you're actually pushing yourself to use it. If you're just barely using it and you're paying $100 a month, but using only the $20 a month features, harder to get your return, right? But as soon as you start to kind of step up and out of that, you can definitely get a better return. One thing I put together that if any of your listeners would like to check out, right, on my website, which is marcotte.ink, there's a /sign shop. I do a good amount of mastermind classes where I talk to other business owners about how to utilize AI, and it kind of drafts a starting point of like, here's some ways to think about it outside of just that chatbot, to start thinking like little agentic moves you can start to make that aren't going to be these big, oh my God, how do I do this? More, let's solve little problems you're dealing with. So I would definitely recommend people check that out. It's, of course, free to go look at, just kind of pan through there, and you'll learn a whole lot about how you can start to connect it to do things like email triage. Just every morning, instead of reading through your email, you can get a synopsis of like what seems to matter the most, and then go focus on that one, right? You can have it connect to any of the software. Even if the software you have doesn't have an API, if you have on your desktop, it has vision. It can log in. If you give it access to your sign tracker account, it can log into your sign tracker account and see the screen. And it can, on its own, while you're still sleeping, be like, this is going to miss its due date. I should probably put this on the daily triage notice, right? So you can start to have these things work as a backup employee for you. If you start thinking of them as like an employee, $100 a month employee is nothing, right? And realistically, you'll probably want to go to the $200 a month plan because you'll start to hit rate limits. So like, oh, you got to wait 6 hours so you can use it again. You're like, oh, man. And then you'll just want to go to 200.
You think about it just on the simplest level as an owner, if you can save 2 hours a week combing through your emails, it's paid. I mean, you got to be worth more than, $25 an hour.
Which most people are, but they're afraid to admit that they are. They don't know that if you're an owner and you're saying your time's less than $50 an hour, what are you doing? Right? You should definitely be higher than that.
Or go work at Costco.
And there's nothing, dude, honestly, the idea of clocking out and being like, and I'm done sounds so
think about
doesn't that sound nice?
It does, though. Think about it. You
God.
get stock options. You get all those free samples. You can buy a $2 hot dog every single day.
Yeah, working there, I have anxiety attacks going there. It's trying to be stuck there all day. I think it's not everyone would make out alive.
Fair.
Yeah.
So I struggle really, and my dad can attest to this. I'm very much in the camp of don't tell me what to do.
No.
Don't tell me what to do. I would rather tell you what to do. So I like internally, I just struggle when someone's like, you have to adapt AI or you're going to fail. It's like, don't fucking tell me what to do, dude. Don't tell me. Don't do it. So I know there are other people like me, and we had a discussion in our group, and there was a guy, Rob. What was his last name? Rob. It's a very cute last name. I liked it.
It's Lilycarp.
Lilycarp. It's a cute last name.
He's a great guy, actually. He always interacts with the community too, so I really appreciate him.
And he said, I wrote this down. He said, adapt now and get ahead for a while. Adapt later and spend your time catching up, or fight the inevitable and risk getting left behind. And like, I get it's definitely a thought starter of a comment that he left. I do think that you can choose to not to adapt AI, right? Like that can be your road. It's a harder road to keep up with people because I think they're just gonna like surpass you in a lot of ways. If they're robots doing half their job, they're gonna go faster than you. But like you can choose to not adapt. But do you think there's a point that we're going to reach, or have we already reached, where not using AI becomes like a complete competitive disadvantage in our field, in the sign industry?
I don't think we're there yet, but I think it's right around the corner. I think for a lot of jobs, that's already there. And I will also say this. There's what fills your wallet, and there's what fills your cup. You should always prioritize what fills your cup. Right. And so if the thought of AI is not
Yoda, that's a Yoda statement right there.
Using AI feels like you're depleting your cup, you should not use AI. And I would argue you're making the right choice. Do what fills your cup. Hopefully, you might be able to recognize that more than likely, those feelings that you have are misplaced and they're from fear of new, fear of technology, or fear of disappearing into obscurity, right? Because of AI. That's what I usually recognize as the drive. That's how most people have struggle with change management or any kind of evolution. It's usually a deep-rooted fear somewhere in there, and they're valid fears, right? So I would suggest that try to find a way that doesn't make you feel like you're jeopardizing your morals and not helping your cup get filled, but that sitting on the sideline is not an option. You're playing a game. We have to be in the game. You don't need to be leading the pack, but it's easier to keep up than catch up, right? Always, always. So start now, and you won't have as much ground to cover if you wait till later. And I do believe that with this industry, if you wait too long, it will be nearly impossible to catch up, right? I don't think we're there yet. I really do not, but I think it's within the next 8 to 12 months. I think it's probably there, right? So I think, and again, just starting will start to open the door, and you don't have to know all these things. I don't know all these things. I have AI help me understand what it is I should be knowing, right? And so just start interacting with it, start trying to move the needle forward in small amounts. You eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? Don't try to eat the whole thing, right? So start small and make that forward progress. But I do believe that the gentleman was right. If you wait too long, it's going to be impossible.
Like, I'm not sure we did a great job dissuading anyone's fears for at least designers. And I get it. I mean, I think there's one thing to remember about this, and that is it's not human. Like, there are elements to our job that aren't easily replaced. There's knowledge that's not easily replaced, and there's a type of thinking that's not easily replaced. So when you're trying to solve problems in a real world setting, you know, as a designer in the sign industry, there's so much that we have to take into account. Design thinking is just the tip of the iceberg. You have to take design thinking, but also curb it to landlord criteria and city code, and then also what the client wants, and then what does the client need? Like, wants and needs are very different in this industry. So it's like when you have a client coming to you with AI designs and like, this is what I want. It's like, I'm sure that you do. What's the problem you're trying to solve? And then let's start from there. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't use AI within design, right? You can still use it for your mockups. You can still use it to cut time down on the tedious tasks that don't involve actually solving the problem. But rather can just get that solution.
If you do want to use it, also just use it. I think that's the thing that we have to let people choose what's best for them. I will have a caveat. If you're employed by somebody else, you do what the person paying you is asking you to do.
Yes, to all my designers on my listening, that's correct.
I hate to say it, but I've been to print shops and like, well, my artist is refusing to use AI. And I'm like, do you want to use AI? They're like, yeah. I'm like, cool, then fire the artist. If they're not going to, I hate to be that crass about it, but it's like, if you're running your business and your needs are, I need faster, I don't need as perfect as your art's going to be, I don't need your artistic style, I need faster, basic, good enough, that's a bad fit. They're better off somewhere else where their actual talents are required and needed and accounted for. And so trying to play that game longer than it needs to is not healthy for either. So if you're that person's like, I'm not using AI, and you work for somebody saying, I need to use AI, you should leave. And you should go somewhere where you can actually do what you want to do, fill your cup.
Yeah, you should leave, or you should say, hey, I could use AI for these aspects of the job that would speed it up. So it would meet the needs of you, but also meet the actual needs of our client if I'm still using my design thinking. So I think there is a middle ground, right? And I think that, you know, for designers listening, it's, even as the owner of a business, like I'm always here to listen to how things can be improved and how process can be improved. And as an owner of a business, if an employee is coming to you and saying, hey, I can improve our process by integrating this AI tool, even if it's a designer, you should listen. And if you can afford it, or really look at why you can't afford it, but if you can afford it, work it into your expenses and supply that tool to your employees, so that way you can improve your processes and possibly increase your sales. And
I think too, it's the successful sign designer or sign shop owner or sign installer or whatever. I mean, as these AI tools continue to come out, It's learning, because if you think about our industry in a lot of ways, Matt, it was similar to, the print shops and all that, but it's old school in a lot of way, right? It's a job shop that's, every sign is custom made for the most part. But I think the successful shops are going to be the ones that learn to bridge that, that whether it's a relationship with a customer or going to the job site or whatever it may be, and helping them understand the processes of what their sign shop does, and combine that with bridging the AI tools that are out there that are going to help them be more efficient, speed to market, greater reach in their community as far as marketing goes. And it's those shops that can learn to marry the craft of making signs, which includes design and fabrication, installation, with the tools that are available to help make them run smoother and more efficient. And so, it's all cool, really, if you think about it. If you can take the scary part out, right? Let's go back to the robots being able to think and taking over. All right, so if we take that out,
here's another way to think about it, right? Every business, if it's a sign shop, a print shop, a manufacturer, a producer of anything, there's kind of an old adage, right? That you can be one of three things: the fastest, the cheapest, or the best. You can be one. Pick one. That is your pillar. Pick one that you aim toward, knowing you fall flat every time, and then pick one that's not in your universe, right? And use AI to help speed those things up. So if I'm the best, well, I'm probably not going to use AI for art because I'm the best. I'm also not fast, and I'm also not cheap. That's where the artist should work. That's really in tune to, this is what I want to do. You should work at that shop. If I want to be the fastest and you're not using AI, you ain't the fastest. Somebody else is faster, right? If you want to be the cheapest, you ain't using AI, somebody else is going to be cheaper because they're using AI, right? So everybody can be in their own spot. And just because one person is saying that I want to be the best, so I'm not worried about price or speed, someone's saying I want to be the cheapest, so I want more work, they're not wrong. That's what fills their cup. That's what solves what they think their customers need and how they want to run their business. And so they should use AI in that leverage of how they're trying to push. Are they the best, the cheapest, or the quickest, right? And that's okay. All of them are okay stories. It's their story to tell, right? So I would encourage people to use AI to help you with your pillar and help you get further with pillar number 2. And don't worry about pillar number 3 still ever. Even because AI is there, just screw pillar number 3. It ain't worth your time, right? And so if that means I'm not touching AI with art creation, great. That's what that means. If it means I'm having AI do most of my art, great. That's what that means. It's not right or wrong. It's up to the person whose business is trying to be run.
Well, we have picked your brain and probably overloaded the brains of all the people in our community at this point.
I feel really challenged, though. I feel really challenged. Like, man, this, for an old school, older sign guy, I feel like excited. There's so much more I can learn.
How excited you get about AI tools when Google Drive was so complicated?
But I did fix it. I fixed the Google Drive thing.
I want to clarify, you did not.
It's an exciting time. There's never been a better time. And I think that in our industry, sign shops, print shops, any of these things, we're idea people. We have ideas, right? And historically, an idea person was only a dreamer and a captain. That's what they always said. You need to have a business. You need to have a dreamer and I made balloons happen. Look at that. You need to have a dreamer and a captain.
I love that.
Exciting.
So
reaction.
I've been a dreamer my whole life, and I always had to have a captain nearby to help. Now more than ever, if you have ideas, the world is your oyster, right? Have fun with it. Explore ideas. Scratch that weird itch in the back of your brain and see what happens, right? Now is a super exciting time, especially if you have spicy ADHD brain like I do, where he's got ideas happening nonstop.
Yeah, well, Liz and I are in that club, man.
I think most shop owners have spicy ADHD brains. That's why we're going through punishment that do what we do.
Let's move on to our golden nugget. So we do this. It's a little different for you today because you're not technically a sign shop owner specifically. So we're going to take it from a different angle. If I'm new into the industry, right, or any industry, and kind of entering and starting a business, what skills do you think I should develop that will still be valuable 10 to 20 years from now?
That's not hard. This is the easiest question. Critical thinking.
Oh,
logic.
That's a dig to our youth today.
Maybe.
So true. You're not wrong.
I hate to, right? Logic is the best thing anybody can learn for anything, period. And AI isn't always logical, so checking it with logic is going to help. Being able to problem solve and being solution oriented, right? Whatever you can learn to start thinking like an engineer, that's the best thing you can do for any job you're ever trying to go to. People love people who say, hey, I found a problem. I'd love your input. I also have some ideas, right? Come to me with your problem and an idea on a solution. Don't only come with solutions. I hate that. Also present the problem, right? And then what you thought about that problem, how we can go through that. But think critically. Think about, how can I make anything I'm doing better? How can I shave a second off and get the same outcome? Think like an engineer, no matter what it is you're doing. Every job you ever have, the person who's like, hey, I thought of this and I tried it and this happened. What do you think? That's how you go, why are you this lower level? Let's move you up. Next, let's move you up, right? Because people like people who solve problems. Learn problem solving, learn discovery. Don't be so prescriptive. Learn to be descriptive. Describe problems. Don't paint a solution. Describe problems, because then you can actually see the building blocks and start putting them together before everybody else can.
You know, I listened to a podcast that you did on AI. It was like a year ago, and so much has changed since then. But I really love what you said. You know, I think this can go to anybody that we're talking to today, is replace fear with empowerment. You said, like, hey, I've never felt more empowered, you know, as a person, a working person, in your career, you'd never felt more empowered. And I think that's a great word of encouragement. Instead of, you know, if you take it slow and don't have fear and think critically and all these things, I mean, look at AI as a tool that will help you, empower you to do a better job in your career, no matter what it is, no matter whether you're the owner or designer or estimator, project manager or fabricator, installer. I mean, like you said, you know, look at ways to improve, even if it's just a little bit every day. And I think AI is just a tool that can help you with that. There's a lot about the tools too, but yourself too, you know, a mindset, right? Your mindset. But anyway, well, Matt, man, we're so grateful that you took the time. I know you were a busy guy juggling a million things, and we'll make sure we put the link to your site in the show notes, and really encourage people to go check that out and see what's there, and see how you can start, you know, using AI on the daily at your shop. But Matt, we're really grateful
so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
Honored to join. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So I guess that's a wrap. Matt, we'll see you on the flip side. Hopefully we'll see you on the road at some shows for 2027. I just submitted my whole list of sign shows anyway so hopefully we'll be out there, and we'll see you out there.